Hi, I'm Ed Amoroso from Tag Cyber, and I'm here with Chris Stewart, who is the Director of Business and Corporate Development at Exabeam. Welcome, Chris.
Hey, thanks.
How you doing?
Ed, thanks for having me.
Welcome to New York City.
Thank you.
From Canada.
Yes. The neighbors to the north. Yes, I'm from Ottawa. So, yeah.
I was up visiting a couple weeks ago. I had such a wonderful time up there.
Well, I'm glad. Hopefully, we took good care of you. Hopefully, we were polite and nice, and you learned something and left thinking highly of us.
I did.
Okay.
Now, let's before we get into Exabeam, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into this business?
Well, thanks for the question. So it's fast coming up on 20 years, actually. 1999 will be the 20th year that I've been in more or less IT security and cyber. And you know, you've been around quite a while as well. You've seen a lot of the same things that we've seen, and you know, it's been an interesting ride. There's been you've seen the evolution of security go from pretty basic technologies back in say the late 90s, early 2000s to some pretty sophisticated stuff that we're looking at today. And it's been like I said, an interesting ride. And
what broke you in '99? Was it within Entrust?
Yeah, exactly. Entrust had spun out of Nortel. Nortel Secure Labs, I think, is what it was called back in the day. And now I'm dating myself, but it was it was
not that long ago.
In IT world it is, but in dog years not so much. Right. But it was it was a great opportunity to work for at the time, which was a leading provider of a cutting edge service and public key infrastructure. Yeah. And I had the great opportunity to work with some phenomenal people on tremendous technologies. But that was
Brian O'Higgins.
Amazing
guy.
Yeah, there's been
like a luminary.
Yeah, really, he is. And there's been an incredible sort of family tree that have come out of Entrust and some good folks. But that was my first introduction to both security and also sort of the business development channels, corporate development world. So it was a really exciting time and fast pace, and that just sort of hooked me in, and here we are.
Well, tell us about Exabeam. We were chatting before. Very impressive story. I'm looking forward to sharing it.
Yeah, Exabeam is we think we're working on something really special. It's not often you get an opportunity to be really transformative in a market, especially a market that is a little bit in need of a shakeup, if you will. So Exabeam, in as simplest way I can put it, is a next generation security and information event management platform or security intelligence platform, whatever the analysts want to coin the term this year or next year or what have you. So we're essentially trying to take the security management problem, all the noise, all the ineffectiveness of security operations centers, and give the power back to the analyst, give the power back to the organization. We're doing a lot of innovative things around that. I can get into what those are in a bit, because it is really a market that's been, we'll call it stale, for what we think the better part of probably I hate to say a decade. And if you think about some of the technologies that are sort of the standards in the space, the architectures predate things like Facebook, the iPhone, big data even, So the fact that we're taking a fresh look at the problem that we all have to live with today, which is big data, security, very complicated threat actors, nation states, I know you know quite a bit about that bit, and the complexity around security issues that, really tough to tackle. We think we've got a really interesting way of approaching that problem, and our customers are speaking. I guess the term is speaking with their wallets. They're buying into what we're doing, and they're really seeing that we're actually solving a problem. We're not just, as the saying goes, kicking the can down the road, if you will. Yeah. Take
me through kind of the first generation SIEM to second, because you guys, in some sense, were involved in that first generation SIEM kind of ecosystem as a solution provider, helping or supporting.
Yeah.
Take me through that. I think that's an interesting way to think about Exabeam.
Yeah, I think too often times people may rush into things and or think they have figured it all out and jump into a market only to have a great idea but fizzle because they didn't have what we'll say is solid and patient execution. The founders of the company, I think, had are proving to have had a really great idea where look at the SIEM market and enhance it or augment, or a term could be used, a SIEM helper. So we entered the market. We were founded in 2013. Really went commercial about 2015-ish, And sort of the first incarnation of the product was what is now called user and entity behavior analytics.
Yeah.
So it was really looking at the user and trying to determine what's right, what's wrong, via the SIEMs, or the security management platforms.
Yeah.
Really taking what people were using every day as their sort of last pane of glass, or as I've heard it, last glass of pain that people were looking at, and really trying to extend the value of whatever they were looking at and really distill it down to something that was manageable. And that was Act One. We'll call it Act One of the company. We partnered, and we still continue to this day, partner with every SIEM
still
vendor.
A valid use case.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. And we enhanced or augmented the SIEM play within an organization. And that took us for the first few years, and that was very successful. And I think what that gave us was both credibility as a company, which is obviously something that any company needs, but also gave us a really, really deep, intimate understanding of what are the problems that the SOC teams face or organizations face, not just around security, but security spend, and also how do you translate that into your business, and how do you prioritize things. So it gave us, a great, we'll call it an MBA or whatnot, of learning that marketing. We knew it well, but by the end of that, we knew it really well. Right. So that was Act One, and that, Act Two started in, I believe, January, February of 2017. I can go into that if you want to see
it.
Yeah. So we knew that the SIEM market was ripe for disruption for a bunch of reasons. But the main reasons that we can sort of look back to are the three problems, if you will, that we knew. There was, on one end, there's just so much data. The data, again, I talked about pre-Facebook and pre-Hadoop and whatnot. The volumes of data that people were looking at back then, and the architectures,
like a relational database or something, right?
Yeah, and when you look at what even just a single individual contributor at a company produces in one day, both from their just regular PCs or whatever, it's huge, right? Compared to fills up fast, right. So there was a data problem, just so much data, and were we looking at it efficiently, and were we storing it efficiently? So that's one problem. Second problem was what we call sometimes a lack of intelligence. Now this doesn't mean people are getting dumber, although you watch the internet sometimes, and you sometimes can make the case that there's some validity to that.
You can make that case.
But when you look at the various technologies that enterprises own, they weren't talking to each other. You had a firewall, you had an endpoint, you had an AV, you had all this stuff that was generating telemetry, but it wasn't being handled properly.
Right.
There was no orchestra, right? And then the last thing is, well, what do you do when you figure, say, Ed or Chris has been compromised? Well, you go get a playbook off the wall and, okay, we'll terminate access and do a bunch of manual things. Yeah. So those put together, we realized that if we hit the market with the right elements, we knew we'd be successful. We knew we could change the SIEM game, if you will. So that was Act Two. We announced it at RSA 2017 based on the plan that our founders had come up with. It's been executing incredibly well. So on the data volume problem, we rather than worry about how organizations store, we made our storage unlimited. So we're going to give you predictable storage. So if there's 3 people in the company or 300,000, we'll give you a price based on that, not based on how much data you generate as an individual or as a company. So we could give predictability to our customers, which was something they sorely lacked and were kind of terrified. And unfortunately, one of the other negative things about the legacy way of doing things was you couldn't put all your information that your technology was generating into one place because it was cost prohibitive. So it was almost like you have 6 kids and only 4 seats in the life raft. 2 are going to swim. It's a horrible decision to make, but CIOs and CISOs were making decisions saying, well, I can't log my DLP or my EDR information. It's just too chatty. I just can't afford to log it and look at it. So what I'll do is I'll look at stuff in my SIEM, and then I'll pivot over to another screen or another screen, another screen, and hope I can piece together the story. Mm-hmm. So that was sort of the data component of it. And then the analytics piece, we were always, again, what our strength and what our core to the company and the value that we bring is, truly around understanding what the users are doing and what's normal so that we can understand what's abnormal. So we log everything, we genuinely understand what's right and what's not right, We do so by, again, understanding what's normal for Ed or Chris or our peers, both in geography and both in job role, et cetera. There's a lot of machine learning and data science that goes behind this. This isn't just, abstract stuff that we work off of. So that was, again, we log it, we understand it. And the last piece is find an efficient and clean way to, pardon the term, cut the head off the snake, right? When something's going wrong and we know it's wrong, let's leverage the technology you have in your infrastructure to shut things down as fast as you can. Put on the hazmat suit and get this clean and scrubbed and done. So that was Act 2 of the company. It was announced in January of 2017. And it's been a great ride. It's been customers have really gravitated to the message. And we've got a lot of validation, and things are going great as a company, yeah.
What technology kind of enables that free licensing? Is that is it virtualization? Like, would pre-virtualization that have been impossible to offer? And I don't mean free licensing.
Sure.
I just mean as you grow,
there's
not a commensurate increase in the license price. Is it virtualization that enables that?
Well, we're building on the Elk stack. One of the things
that could be a big.
It could be a big thing, right? So one of the things that the ability to triangulate and hoard information. Hoard's probably a bad word, but hoard information. Built on the current technologies that are available today versus when, again, you were talking about relational databases, which were small size cans that you had to buy another can and another can and another can. Ours is very elastic in nature, so you can build based on whatever policies you want. Again, without fear of that giant bill coming at you, if you decide to upgrade your technology next year. So go from standard endpoint to EDR or firewall to next-gen firewall. We know that when you do stuff like that, your log volume can increase sometimes 10, 20 times, and that's material. People have to have some pretty painful discussions or make some tough decisions based on whether or not they do it and if they actually look at the data that they've paid to have, right? It's kind of an awkward situation. So we decided to sort of take that off the plate, if you will.
Now, in the incident response, that's probably very workflow oriented.
Sure.
I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Do you have APIs or things that you can tie in? Because everybody's workflow touches everything. Does that take some time to integrate, or do you guys? Is it pretty simple?
Yeah. So maybe even reel it back a little bit. That's a great question. I wish, and I want to get back to that in a second. But one of the core tenets of the company was that we knew that to be effective to change the game later on in life, we needed to be heavy integration focused.
Yeah.
They can't make it hard.
There's no greenfield anywhere.
Absolutely not. Right. You walk into
teeny companies, but you guys target the bigger ones.
Sure. Yeah. The upper end of the pyramid is typically who has, we'll call it the most pain and the most need for something to shake up and something to really get their arms around the problem, because they're dealing with regulations, compliance, a lot more than others. But they, at the end of the day, they're dealing with heavy duty targets, for bad actors, right? So they're typically who we do. But back to the comment, we knew we needed to be very, very integration friendly. So that was, basically job one was, and our CEO will say this, we integrate with everything. And we do integrate with friends and people that we compete with directly, because like you said, there are no greenfields. And customers will make a decision, they'll pick a technology, and obviously, like you said, what we do on the incident response piece is very workflow oriented. If you own technology A, B, and C, and they're going to help mitigate a process or clean up a mess once someone's been compromised, we want to be able to leverage that. So we do have APIs really built on quick, efficient integration, and we take the burden on a lot of that on ourselves as well. We didn't want to leave that up to others to do that for us. So we build that into the product, and that's sort of, again, one of the value adds of the platform is, we can integrate with just about anything. Currently, we're sitting at about 1,500 integrations, both ingest and also API driven. And we're building more every day. So use cases, the odd time we'll get surprised with a new one, and we can turn that around relatively quickly. But that was a core piece back to that strategy and vision of the company. That was a really core piece to it.
Yeah. You mentioned machine learning. Yep. That's such an important part of the analytic equation now.
Yeah.
Is that something you guys see growing, becoming more a part of this? Seems like it would lend well to what you're doing.
Yeah, again,
AI and that
sure.
kind of stuff, right?
So it is, again, foundational to what we're doing, because let's face it, machines can learn. Machines can be leveraged for certain things, and humans can be leveraged for other things. Put a giant stack of things to go through. A machine can go through them faster than a human could. Now, to interpret, that's where obviously the humans and the ability for the humans to then teach the machines to learn what they're looking at with supervision to some extent is going to be needed. So yeah, no, absolutely, machine learning is core to what we do. And we apply a ton of math and data science really to make sure that we're always working on optimizing whatever our platform is looking at and how it looks at it, and marrying that obviously to security as well, because it can't just be standalone data science and machine learning. It has to apply to something. So in our case, it happens to be security, and another startup down in Silicon Valley might apply to a shopping pattern on people or whatnot. So, but yeah, no, it's the way things are going, we believe, and obviously it's proven to be edified by many of our customers who have very, very strong endorsements of the way that we're helping identify large scale issues and large scale of incidents, I guess we'll say, inside their infrastructure or inside their environments.
Interesting. Now, we'd already mentioned that you guys kind of target larger companies in a sense, but any particular sectors that have been more important than others, or have they all been kind of equally interesting?
Well, obviously financial services is
There's such a huge risk in everything,
yeah,
so that's a given.
The risk surface is enormous. Life sciences and healthcare has been very strong. Retail, we have quite a wide array. One thing that is consistent with most of them, as you mentioned, is that they're all generally large. Now, surprisingly enough, though, we will not surprisingly, but we will come across smaller firms or mid-sized firms that really do handle extremely valuable information, and having the integrity of that information guaranteed, or have the best possible solution. So we've experimented that, and as we go forward as a company, that's definitely an area of focus for us. Will be to move our platform down market. So that's definitely in the cards. But phase 1, Act 1, and Act 2, let's call it, of the company has really been focused on some of the larger enterprises, and again, typically because they have the biggest amounts of volume and have the toughest time sort of wrapping their arms around the issues that they have to deal with on a unfortunately daily basis. So it's tough. Yeah.
Where do you think you guys will be in a few years? I mean, obviously it's business growth and so on, but you think as automation continues, as autonomous systems roll out, as kind of the mobility continues to drive, you think any of those themes will be important for you guys moving forward? Yeah, no, I think
one of the things that is both exciting yet also very concerning in the security world is around IoT. You touched on a few things.
That's the E in UEBA, right?
That's the E in UEBA. Yes. Which started out as UBA, but then, of course, just to make it a little tougher on the tongue,
UEBA is more accurate.
Yeah. It is, yeah. And really trying to understand, if you look at, yourself or me, we have certain behaviors, but so do our devices. And, it is worth the triangulation of those two things, as well as understanding, what's in a technology environment, and how do they operate, what's normal, what's abnormal. So the IoT piece, as everything becomes digitized, it is really increasing the attack surface at a rate. I mentioned earlier the data growth. Thought about 10, 15 years ago, no one had any idea that we'd be here. I'm confident. If they do, they're either very bright or very lucky to guess that. But the IoT piece is going to be very interesting. The entity component is going to be
sense.
And we are working with partners. We do a lot of integration work with partners, and there's some that are really strong in that area. And like I said, our foundational to our company is that we are very integration friendly and partner friendly. So we do work with lots of companies across the industry, both in security and others. And there's a lot of people that are strong in the OT world, so we do work with many of those, network access control companies, et cetera, just to try and really get a good grasp on what's sitting inside a customer's actual environment, because I think a lot of times people are very surprised what is actually in an environment or what's touching their environment. So I think that's going to be one of the big things of focus in the next probably, several years. Again, how it shakes out, that's to be seen, but I think that's one of the biggest concerns or areas that we're going to need to put some focus on, both us as a company and as an industry as well.
Well, Chris, it's obvious that you're enjoying yourself.
Yeah, I am.
You know what you're talking about. I shared that when we were walking over. A very impressive way of telling the story. I think Exabeam is lucky to have you there doing business development.
Oh,
I
good.
hope,
Well, thanks.
you guys continue on your path. It's all good.
Yeah, we are going to continue working hard every day and listening to our customers, and if you do that, good things should happen, right?
Success follows.
Yeah.
Well, you come back and visit us as you guys continue to grow.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate
Wonderful to have you here in New
All
York City.
Thanks a lot.
Wonderful.
Take care.
And we will see you next time.